Welcome back. Of course, you know, we're still in the studio, and still with me is Moses Abolade. And of course, I'd like him to join in on the conversation right now. And of course, don't forget to call in and join in, and the conversations, our numbers are on the screen. Welcome to the studio once again.
Thank you very much, Mercy, for having me.
Okay, so I like that. What would be a general overview about this peace accord? Of course, we know that there's been a lot of back and forth from the first peace accord that was signed, and now, of course, we're looking to see more from this. And of course, most of the political parties turned up this time around. So what's your general overview on this?
First, is a great accomplishment for us as a country. And it's a good thing that we are having this at this time. And it also shows one thing, that anything we have started as a policy or as a principle or as an path, which also applies to our lives, you don't give up. You keep doing it until it becomes perfect. And thank God we are getting better at it. And just like I was writing this morning, I said is a good phase for us if we can manage it well. We've done well 2015, especially with the tension, you know, what that called here, you know. And I told people, if we can conquer what happened in 2015, definitely we can conquer anything as a nation. We've learned how to be able to either strategically withdraw from violence, how to be able to make some strategic decisions. Our stakeholders are also getting aware that the polity is not as usual. And they are beginning to see or have empathy for people. Despite the entire outlook they might pose, like we must get this and all that, I'm beginning to see that no matter what, they are seeing beyond themselves now. And that's the good thing about it. I was so impressed that we have all of them there. It also shows that the game is becoming very competitive, that they know that any action or inaction can ruin their expected result. So it's not a game of, oh, it is just me. If I did not go, nothing will happen. I can still make waves. They know that it will pass a message. Because Nigerian concern, is this person a peaceful person? Is this person, if this person is not peaceful at this time, will he be peaceful when we give him that position? So, and we are happy. I'm so happy that we are getting there gradually.
So they say one step at a time. And the journey of 20 years starts in a day. So now we'll move on to the next story. A contingent of civil society organizations are seeking to ensure Nigerians work towards national development following the 17 goals of social development goals 2030. The CSOs, while rallying in the street of Abuja, stressed the need to implement a set target for economic sustainability by the use of diverse languages to create awareness, sensitize, educate citizens of Nigeria. Well, Kaftan TV respondent Mavis Ako reports.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, in which Nigeria is also a member state, provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. A call for urgent action by a coalition of civil society organizations through sensitization on the streets of Abuja are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The CSOs advocating for the goals believes that the requirement to achieve each goal is to adopt, indoctrinate, and localize the goals for sustainability in the economy.
If all countries are able to actually adopt this, like they have committed in 2050, we committed to it as member states to the United Nations. If we can adapt these goals, put it, indoctrinate it, localize it, you know, then the world should be better. And for today's work, the idea is some of us here are educated. We know about the goals. We read about them. How about the local man on the streets who sells? How would he know about the goals? And the idea is to let people know that as human beings, as citizens of Nigeria, you can actually do something for yourself and actually implement a set target. Like today, we told them, you know what, in your house, before you leave your house, put off your sockets, put off your bulbs. Do not litter the road. Do not mess up the road. Do not throw things into the lakes, into the rivers. You know, just try and see how you can live decently as human beings. And this is the message we're taking out, that these are the goals. They exist. And it concerns you as a citizen.
Now, those goals are are set up so that we can have sustainability in our economy. You have good health and well-being, we have quality education, you have sustainable cities, we have reduced consumption and partnership for the goals. Of the 17, partnership for the goals is actually my best. Bring a bit of election now. We have bad leadership. We have bad government. If we're able to achieve the goal, do you think we can be able to achieve goal 1, which is no poverty? Nigeria is a blessed nation. Nigeria is a blessed nation. We have a lot of mineral resources here. We shouldn't be a poor nation still thinking about how we can reduce poverty in 2023. If we can achieve the goals and partner for the goals, we can reduce the poverty level in Nigeria.
Some added that all hands must be on deck to achieve national development.
We can actually achieve these goals before 2020, before 2030, but it all depends on our action. That's why we're on the streets today. However, right now, Nigeria is ranked below average, right? But between last year, 2022, and this year already, we are just in February, we have seen some reasonable demonstration in organizations, even on the part of the government, collaborating with other non-profits to put action into this thing, to see that, we accelerate, our actions on the goals. So if we all come together,
I feel like a lot of people do not know that the Sustainable Development Goals has to do with every individual. A win for one person is a win for all. We're talking about poverty, we're talking about climate change, we're talking about even health, safety, the fish, the animals, just alleviating things that make hardship exist in the world and making it a better place for people.
The rally, which took diverse languages, highlighted ways to act alongside the goals.
One thing about the SDGs is that we can't say that we've done enough. We continue to talk about it to ensure that people are aware about it, and also not just to sensitize them alone, but they also know what ways they can get involved. So this SDGs work today is one of the ways we are trying to get more people to be aware of the goals, and also more people to know how they can act. It's spoken in pidgin, the flyers have different ways what you can do, the basic things an average person can understand, just beyond saying know your goals, but now act the goals, what you can do to be part of it.
Amongst the 17 goals includes no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, and so on, with a view to address the state of the nation. Therefore, with the election underway and expectations of Nigerians, good governance, hard work, and other criteria is expected to achieve these goals before 2030. From the nation's capital, Mavis Ako, Kaftan TV News.
Welcome back. And of course, you know that a lot has been going on the scene, the polity. And do you think we need more sensitization in the Nigerian society as large?
The answer is a capital yes.
Okay.
Even yesterday at a program organized by a CSO, which I'm doing more around right now, there is more of one. Even before you talk about sensitization, because you must talk about the content of those sensitization. Yes. We need more quality content on different media, either through writing, either through video, either through the media, either through public sensitization. We need quality content that are not just to just drop out things, do this, do this. No, we should also be conscious of the environment we have. We should be conscious of the context of time, political situation, different things. We need a lot of education. And that goes first to the voices of those information. Like myself, I do call myself a content creator in the civic space. Most likely, it's not even about the content now. We need to monitor those content to be sure that the message we are passing across meets the expected objectives. Anybody can go out and sensitize people on something, and before you know it, it can even lead to more conflict than what is expected. So that's why we need more content quality assurance mechanisms for most of the content we are creating. That's one. Now, the medium of passing out or carrying out those information is also very important. You need to study your audience. You need to study what media, this media, who am I targeting? Who are my target audience? And knowing your target changes will help you determine the kind of sensitization you're doing. And I'm saying it this way because I've seen the fact that most of us propagating either peace, either SDGs, that's this, we need to pay attention to these details so that we will not be moving in a vicious cycle, just going round and round. We must be carefully intentional about what we want to do. I've been creating content for close to 5 years now around peace building, and I can tell you that another major thing that we are very energetic to go out, you know, when you want to, especially when it has to do with media. You have people want to go out, especially when it has to do with shirts and and placards.
And let's show to the world that yes, we're preaching peace,
which is very good. But beyond that, how do you monitor, evaluate, ensure accountability and learning through those processes? It's been very difficult, and I think we need to start making this information very common and very public. That CSOs have run projects, and especially sensitization projects, and after the project I look at myself after doing some analysis and I just ask myself, what impact do we actually make? Are we actually, because we are not doing it to show, we are doing this to impact people. But when you do your analysis properly, you do your monitoring and you evaluate yourself, because you cannot live in self-denial that, oh, how many people responded, what has been the impact. I understand the import of being consistent, despite the fact that you might not get the kind of attention, but you're consistent. That's fine. But even at that, you must be sure that you are making progress per time by all this sensitization. And there should be a reaction, a positive reaction, most likely. Even if it's not possible, there should be a reaction. You must get those feedback, and you must be able to use those feedback to ensure a quality process in the next time you're going out. So we need more.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And when you say we need more, in what aspect? I mean, you are a peace person. So let's say peace has been marked, and then of course we have the political part, which has of course been ticked. I mean, we would not compare the rate of people that are coming out and gearing towards this election to who, and the rate of people that came out in 2018. So what other aspects can be filled in and say, oh, we need to sensitize the general society on this and that? What do you
first we have the first thing from my own aspect. Now I believe more in education. Education itself, I'm not talking about schooling as in just going to school. Proper education. There are some countries that are not as educated or schooled like us. Yes. But you just discover that they comport themselves anywhere they go. I'm serious. You can go to some countries and you discover that they are not, it's not like they don't have much many professors or PhDs like we do. But you see the way they obey laws and order. You were surprised. What will have been the thing? And most especially, it's not education from schools alone. It starts from the home. From the home, family front. And we have moral capacity in our cultures, in our norms that can help us instill, because if everybody is from a home, if we can have the right education from home, you are very ethical, you know what should be done, you prioritize the other person, and you can understand the principle of love and other things. Definitely we will go far. So that is the foundation, because if you can grow up with empathy, you can grow up with understanding, you can grow up with compassion. It is not when you are not competing for election that you start showing those things. No. And that is why we're having problem with leadership, because these people pass through primary school, pass through secondary school. Who were their teachers? Those are the questions we should ask ourselves. Who taught these people in school? Who were their parents? Because they pass through all this, we call it circle of socialization. And when you are able to socialize wrongly, you become a wrong leader. And that's why we are struggling educating people now. What we will have done some years ago, and we can still do it. It's not late. We can still do it. The more we do it, the more we get back to the street. And not just going to the street. We must be strategic. If possible, if you can write a content. Because the difference between most of the white education we have, or why some people consider it superior, is because they were able to document them. They are not superior to what we have in African times. But what's the access? How do people document those those information. We have so much beautiful information, even as to mathematics, physics. If people start analyzing Odrifa for you, people that understand it, and they are telling you the moral construct of that, but we did not document it. And that's why I want to advise that maybe our sensitization should be more strategic, more sustainable inclined. We should be looking at the future, not just going out on the street and we cannot measure it for the long time.
Thank you for that. And now we'll move on to the next story, which is few days to Nigeria's general elections. The Commonwealth Observer Group, which has arrived the country to monitor the elections on Monday, paid a courtesy visit to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and his management team. The 16-member observers, led by former President of South Africa, His Excellency Thabo Mbeki, has charged the Commission to ensure it discharges its statutory role without fear or favor. While speaking on behalf of the group, Mbeki said the success of the 2023 general elections depend on INEC chairman and his team. He expressed optimism that the machineries needed for the conduct of election are in place. Responding, the INEC chairman assured the group that the commission will wholeheartedly accept any recommendations President Mbeki's group will turn in after general elections. The INEC boss told his guests that the commission is up to speed and has so far achieved all the milestones set up for the elections, except the election day activities, which is said will also be delivered successfully, adding that INEC remains apolitical and will deliver the mandate of the Nigerian citizens. And now moving on to the next story. In a bid to communicate government policies, programs, activities, and engage with critical stakeholders on the mandate of the National Orientation Agency, Director General NOA Dr. Garba Abari addresses 3 thematic areas of the agency's sensitization activities at the community level, especially as it pertains to the forthcoming general elections, the planned National Housing and Population Census, and the Central Bank of Nigeria policy on the redesign of Naira. While speaking to journalists in Abuja, Dr. Garba Abari stated the agency's efforts to enlighten citizens and response received from Nigerians as regards the Naira redesign. The Director General, National Orientation Agency, also reveals that the National Population Census, which will be conducted after the elections, will be a digital census as the agency commits to promote democracy. The National Orientation Agency further reiterates its commitment to constantly interpret and explain government policies and programs for the benefit of the people. Well, let's take a look at the reports.
The National Orientation Agency, immediately after the redesign of the central bank came out with this policy, officially wrote to the CBN. This is a policy that is going to have far-reaching monetary implications on our national economy. Can you please give us content with which we will take to the communities? The people were of the opinion that the sensitization should have commenced much earlier before the new Naira redesign, which is also true. We went back with a report that stakeholders commended the NOA and the CBN for the sensitization campaign and they promised to step down the messages to others so as to meet up with the deadline. 3, we responded by way of a feedback that it was observed there were a large number of people who misconceived or have wrong perception of the new Naira design policy of the same year. And we needed additional information. There is the need to redouble efforts towards creating more awareness on the policy. Some people are of the opinion that time allocated for the change of the new Naira note is insufficient and many people can't meet the deadline. These are all parts of the reports NOA sent by way of feedback. Commercial banks were not issuing new Naira notes to the public. Because the national census is another policy of government that has far-reaching social and economic implication for our country, for planning, for security, for national identity, for data collection, it has become very, very important that people understand the importance of the census. In the days of old, The census had been turned into political instruments and weapons. This time around, the census is going to be a digital census reflective of the digital age. But then, what does it mean to have a digital census? If you go to the ordinary person, not only the one you buy in Abuja and in other places, but in the communities, what is it that he wants to do with the census? Some Nigerians have preconceived notion about the concept of census. They believe it is a political activity meant to ensure and to enhance political advantage. And this must have to be counter-narrated. Many sought explanation on the concept of digital census, which is being promoted as the main feature of the planned exercise, and so on and so forth. Now, clearly, the political events associated with the general election, I'm not coming to the voter education, is overshadowing the census awareness, which is actually true. The National Orientation Agency has acquired a reputation for delivering on its mandate to promote democracy as the preferred form of government. As we prepare for the 2023 elections, all hands are on deck to ensure that citizens make informed choices in the selection of our leaders. First, May 2023. Arising from our 2019 report, the agency deliberately designed its political education and sensitization program around the following thematic areas.
A coalition of civil society organizations worried over the intensified existential crisis that has plagued Nigeria in the last few weeks, especially currency redesign to railroad Nigeria into a cashless economy, states that it has further unleashed unimaginable hardship on majority of Nigerians. The CSOs, while addressing the media, stated clearly that the event of the last few weeks appears as orchestrated political template aimed at undermining national existence, while adding that the exercise has become anti-people, inducing resentment and anger against the government. Leaders of civil society makes the following demands. The contingent of CSOs, while condemning the repression of protests, call for its cessation and prosecution of security personnel who harassed citizens. They also added that a peaceful assembly and protest should not be an excuse for the destruction of public or private property or abuse of fundamental rights of citizens by protesters. Now let's take a look at this report.
The exercise was unleashed at a time that Nigerian citizens are reeling from the effects of contrived fuel scarcity, insecurity of endemic proportions, galloping inflation and attendant stress on conditions and the cost of living of citizens. It needs to be emphasized that the Naira redesign exercise has exposed the poor thinking in implementation, resulting in avoidable scarcity of the redesigned denominations of the currency, the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes, respectively. The events of the last few weeks appear as orchestrated political template aimed at undermining the very foundation of our national existence.
It is worrisome that some governors have chosen to seize this moment and are pretentiously posturing to be acting in the interests of the people. They are taking sides with the people is a carefully organized deception, as they have chosen to keep mute in situations of great sufferings of the people. They have never sided with Nigerians against their continued suffering, including collapse of education, healthcare system, insecurity, and other terrible living conditions. It is convenient for the governors to challenge the president as their financial interest appears to be threatened and could mar their chances of rigging the election through vote buying. Some of their remarks are full of deception and capable of truncating democracy in Nigeria.
The exercise was
to safeguard our democracy and protect the working and living conditions of our people. We make the following demands. The federal government must quickly put in place all measures to ensure that suffering of the Nigerian people caused by the poor and thinking inefficiencies in the implementation of the Naira redesign exercise are eliminated. We call on the executive branch of government, in particular the presidency and the Central Bank of Nigeria, to retrace their steps and immediately abide with the extant ruling and pronouncement of the Supreme Court on this matter. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we also call on the presidency to uphold rule of law and not to take any step that will further undermine the system of separation of power between branches of government. In this respect,
the reality is that we all know that even though the ostensible reasons why this policy exists, the government has made excuses like inflation, they've said things like vote buying, they've said things like, but we all know any economist worth his salt knows that those issues that they want to solve aren't necessarily solved this way. No other country in the world has solved those issues by this type of action. So we know it's politically motivated. So it's a question of the media and civil society coming together to really champion this cause and getting the international community and all of the people behind this, this mission.
Welcome back. We're still on Weekend Review on the Polity, reaching you live, of course, from Abuja studios. And of course, we just finished watching one of the CSOs talking about peace and, of course, the cash crunch and cash scarcity, of course. And still in the studio is Moses Abolade. Yeah. What's your general overview on that? And before you answer that question, we would agree that for the past 3 weeks, if not 1 month now, cash scarcity has been the number one, I mean top on the list before. Okay, let's say this week election matters have of course overtaken that, and of course we've seen videos of people trying to make way into banks. We saw a video of a woman that of course was climbing people's heads before she could make her way into the bank. And apart from that, people getting naked. They say desperate times call for desperate measures actions. So desperate actions, if I beg your pardon. What is your general overview about this? Because it feels like for every time something happens in Nigeria, there must be that, let me use the word gyration. Yeah, there must be destruction of property, loss of lives. And is there no peaceful way to actually pass our messages across? I mean, you are a preacher of peace. Let me use that word.
Yeah, and thank you for recounting that and for sending me that question or putting me on this hot spot. Okay, as a peace builder, I will not be talking generally. Okay. I'll be talking as a peace builder, and which means that I will be looking at it from the angle of long-term sustainability of resolving conflict. Now, if we have situations like this, the question should be, why are we here? Instead of us, all these are triggers. People have been tense from the beginning of the year. I mean, even last year, even from the beginning of this administration, and even in the past, you know. So it's more of an accumulated stress over time. And just like I used to say, when people are in conflict, the question should be why. Even before you talk of what, as a peace builder, you're looking at what actually caused this. Do people come out to to struggle for things 3 months ago? No. Or 5 months ago? No. So that means that there is a cause. If you did not deal with that root cause, it might linger more. And the more there is dynamics to conflict. And when you're not careful, and that's why we have early response and early warning. Even the duty bearers, who are people who make these policies, one way or the other should have an idea of what they are doing. And that's why, as a leader, making policy is something that is strategic. It has to do with time. You need to factor in situation analysis. All these are not, and there are things you must do scenario building. Now, if you do your best case scenario, you do your middle case scenario, you do your worst case scenario, what would have happened? If you cannot project these things, then you ought not to be a policymaker in the first place. So we are getting, the people will react. You should have envisaged this. And when such reaction comes, what are your response mechanisms? How do you communicate to the people? I intentionally will not be discussing it from the angle of people who are aggrieved, who are the victim in this case, who are the masses. I'll be talking about who triggered them.
The government.
The policymakers on different stands. And we must deal with that. Their communication strategy This is why we are different from maybe political.
So I like the fact that you said communication strategy. What other or better means do you feel the policymakers, and when I mean policymakers, let's take it from the angle of the CBN governor. What other measure, or what better, let's use that word, better measure or better angle do you feel he would have used to communicate? Because I don't feel if you ask me, I would say communication wasn't the issue. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. They made a policy, but they were not able to implement it well, or they didn't think about the risk of implementing these policies.
Okay, communication. To make anything work, it depends on the content of your communication. It also depends on how you communicate it. Now, you want to start this now. We know that you've tried maybe in the past, acclaimed seven times you've been trying to do this. What has been your survey like? In this part of the world, we don't understand that data management is communication strategy. When last did you see that a major survey that talks about even if you want something or not? You cannot just make policy, because you're not making the policy for yourself. You're making the policy for the people. So just like market, you need to ask the people, what is your situation? Even if they said no, that no, you will ask other things. Why are you saying no to this policy? That way there is feedback between you and the people that you want to serve. Have you seen any of such? And we have mechanism. But when it comes to issues of politics, we have several posts going on now to know who want to, but we don't take cognizance of this from the elementary level. Do we even have total number of people who are living in this country?
Well, that's why we're going to have a census after the election.
So it's very important that we take communication serious. And you want to do something of this magnitude, you're building your scenarios, you collect data first. After that, you try to look at ways of decentralizing this information properly, in a way that it is not the people that will be. It is now we are the one trying to tell people in the market, oh, they said this thing, it will favor you.
No, just to transfer, and
we shouldn't be the one doing that, and it shouldn't be the central government, the governor. The governor. No, I think we have even relegated some of our
duties.
There are some things that are peculiar to some seats. It is the system. You will have created a system around you that will have made media more accessible to this information and discharge it in a decentralized way consistently over a period of time. That way you're not the one that will be explaining to people all the time. No. But over time, they will have been well into the system, even before it played out. And you will know there's what we call drastic change. Always cause some, especially when people have gone through some traumas in the past. You cannot just bring something so sudden. There is a systemic, and there's a strategic way you withdraw old things while the new things. You don't just withdraw something without creating another. I think that's the issue. It is not the first time we are doing, changing of design and all that. But this is the first time that people are looking for the new note and they can't find it. I think that's the issue.
That's the issue. Okay. All right, now let's quickly do this story before we go on a short break. The last in the series of trainings that commenced over 6 months ago, and in line with the global best practices for professionalism of police officers, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, organized an all-inclusive training for security agencies to participate ahead of the general elections. Well, RGP Usman Alkali Baba, while addressing security agencies in Abuja, said the interagency collaboration is important to identifying the trends of crime and internal security threats to devise ways to stabilize security order across Nigeria. Stakeholders also urges the Nigerian police force to be assertive in discharging their duties, especially in the protection of lives and properties. Kaftan TV's reporter has more on this.